All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me today. My name is Brian Weeks, and I'm a Senior AEC Technical Specialist for ATG USA. And today we're going to talk a little bit about automating and scheduling your project's plotting and exporting workflow. Tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in the business for 22 years. I've been with ATG for a little over 18 months now, and very enjoyable and having a great time working here. Uh, get to work with architects all over the nation with ATG through what we call team augmentation. And what that means is that if your firm is in need of some assistance, whether it be modeling or creating families or just trying to get some construction documents done on time, you can definitely contact us, contact your sales representative. And we have not only architects, but MEP, structural engineers, civil, that can all be a part of your team and help you out with your projects and your deadlines. So if you need more information on that, definitely talk to your sales rep. I also like to mention that I am working on a BimBox. This is available exclusively from ATG. And if you go check out our webpage, atgusa.com/product/BimBox, you can get some more information on that product. It's the fastest computer I've ever worked on. I've gotten spoiled. Can definitely make a huge difference in your workflow and your timelines for running Revit and Inkscape and doing your rendering all in-house without having to, wait for an extended period of time to get those renderings to be constructed. So definitely check that out if you're interested in a new workstation or some maybe some specific BIM workstations for your office. So the course description, as you probably saw, and the reason you're here is to create a workflow for plotting and exporting your files. And so in my 22 years, never fails. Every firm I've worked for, we always have that Friday deadline, a client that requests, whether it be a DWGs or the Revit project itself or PDFs of the construction drawings. There's always this task that has to be done of creating those PDF sets, exporting the DWGs, and getting that to your client for review. So typically that, of course, is handed off to our architectural interns in the office, and then they spend a couple of hours, depending on the size of the project, pulling up your sheets, setting up your plot styles. Then they have to go in and also export the DWGs as well. So there's a whole a time-saving process that can be had with the CTC tool, Plotter and Exporter. And talk a little bit about how you get that. The Plotter Exporter tool is actually part of the BIM batch suite, not the project suite. I missed that calculation, that correction, BIM batch suite. And what these tools do is allow Revit, this tool allows you, a Revit user, to process that workflow, multiple workflows at a time, with a focus on importing and exporting that data. The tool is an incredibly intuitive interface, and as I'm getting ready to show you, it's very easy to learn. And it's also part of the BIM Batch Suite. You can try that out with a 14-day trial, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, about how you can get your hands on it and try it out. So with plotting and exporting, you can, and we'll go into more detail as I show you this live in the demo. We can print to a printer, we can print to a PDF. It allows us to export various types of files, schedule those exports and prints, multiple instances, multiple setups can occur, multiple schedules. You can drag and drop views from the left source box to the actual selections box. And so it's very easy and intuitive to use. And of course, it comes with a free PDF printer driver, but it utilizes any of the PDF printer drivers that are available on your computer. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, show you a little bit about it. I've got my file already open. I'm over here I'm going to collapse my project browser so you can see on this particular demo project, I do in fact have, sheets and views set up. It is just a typical Revit project that we will have all the views and everything accessible from the tool. Up here at the top left, I have a string of various CTC tools up here, and if any of these catch your fancy and you'd like to see a demo at a later date for your company, just contact us at ATG USA or your sales rep with ATG, and we can schedule up a demo for any of these tools that we have available. But today we're looking at the BIM Batch Suite, a couple of free tools under that, which is the Family Exporter and Family Loader. And then the premium tools, which the Plotter Exporter is one of those premium tools, along with the Project Family Upgrader and a Project Processor, kind of a more in-depth purge program than what Revit provides. So let's go ahead and click on the Plotter Exporter tool. And the whole reason we're here today is to speed up this export and printing process. So when I first open it, it takes a couple of seconds there, and it's going to go through all of my project, and it's going to analyze my views, my sheets, my legends, anything that I might want to PDF or export. So you can see all my sheets are down here at the bottom under the sheets, under available views and sheets. Also my views. And this is very helpful for exporting individual views to, say, a DWG for plans that you may have to export rather than having to open each individual view. You can export those. And then on the right tab here under sources, a wildcard search library. And I'm going to kind of tackle into each of these individually. But again, it's a very intuitive program. I already had a question. Do any of these tools carry over to Civil 3D, or is it strictly Revit? That's a good question. I believe it is. These are strictly Revit plugins, but I can definitely find more information on that. Since I'm kind of the architectural side, I don't ever do any of the civil demos, but that's a great question, and I will find that out here in a second. I can message and get that information. So Plotter Exporter up here at the top, we just kind of start up here, new, open, and save. And if you have your settings set right now, I've already got it cleared, but typically I like to just hit new, clears any of my export selections. Validate settings, run is where you would select once you have your export selection set up, you run that. Scheduler is where I'm going to show you how to set up a schedule. And then you can also create a view log as well. Now, one thing I do like to mention on all the CTC tools, they all have these top 4 buttons on their top right. The help, of course, would take you to the user guide. But my favorite part of all the CTC tools is that with the tool, you can click on a video and it's actually going to take you to YouTube directly to the instructional videos and or webinars that are available for this tool. So if you're using it and you go, oh, I remember, I saw the demo and I remember Brian doing this, but I can't remember how he did it. You can always go to the video and it's going to show you more in-depth step-by-step on how to how to use that tool. Support also gives you a direct contact with support, so you can if you have any issues, bug issues, or even suggestions. CTC does like to receive suggestions for new tools, and so if there's anything that you'd like to see included for Revit through CTC, message, and then of course about's the software. Okay, so nothing is configured. These are all blank. And first thing I'm going to do is show you how easy it is. So let me go ahead and minimize that. Apologize. Let me just show you how easy it is to if you need to just do an initial print or export, DWG, whatever it may be in your single project that you have open. You don't have to run the scheduler. You can just do a direct export on the selection. So, for example, I was mentioning the floor plans. Perhaps I need to get all my floor plans, and I can be selective, or I can just drag all these at once, all 4 of my floors, plus my basement, and I need to do DWG export on those for whatever particular reason. Or maybe we need to be more selective and we just need our code plans to be exported to DWG, or just our floor plans. You know, whatever our consultant perhaps needs those particular plans, we select them, drag them over to the DWG, and then your DWG settings are actually going to be under the export settings button. So again, very intuitive. All the settings for the individual exports over here are going to be under that settings button. And by selecting that DWG, and I've dragged and dropped all these DWGs to this folder, I can tell it where do I want to export it. Well, let's go ahead and go to my plotter exporter, and I've got some DWG folder there set up, and then I can actually have settings imported. So if I have specific DWG settings that I'm using in my project, or these are actually previously saved settings that I've used on other demos, so I can actually select a CTC standard DWG setting as well. And then the file naming rules. This is just telling it how do I want this to be exported and how do I want it named. It gives you a preview down here of what that file name is going to look like. So in this particular sense, I actually have I actually have a file name, type, and view name. Maybe I don't want to necessarily have the file name, but I can use, you know, if I want to keep the level. Let's see, or actually in this case, I'd probably want, let me clear this out. And let's do the project number, project name, and then we want to do the view, and then maybe a date. So a lot of variety down here, a lot of different ways that you can create and name those parameters based off of the parameters within your project. Oh, there it is, processing date. And so see how it gives me an example down here. I hit OK, and all that was is a setting for how these are going to be exported. So once I'm ready to do that, then I can just hit run now on this current project. I'm going to pop over here to my, as it's running there in the background. I'm just going to pull open real quick and show the example of how this looks when it gets processed. So it's created a dated folder with the date and the time. And if I click on that, you can see how it's actually exported. Oh, I must not have saved. I must not have saved it. It's still showing the project, the date and the project name and the floor. So, but again, it's all through the settings. You can also select it to not save PCP files, the plot files, if you don't need those, and you just need the specific DWGs. That's definitely one of the settings under the export settings. I shouldn't have selected all those. It's taking a second. Let me see if I can hit cancel there and just cancel out of that. Pulls you up an event log, kind of tells you what was successful and warnings, any issues you might have had with that. Okay, and let's go ahead and do new again. And we can do that same thing with sheets. So if there are specific sheets we want, and we can do those as DWGs, or of course, what's the most typical with sheets is creating a plot set. So I can actually drag and drop those in, select the order I want them if I need to rearrange. So for example, if I come in and I put my AD sheets in here, then I can actually, it's alphabetized, so that one actually worked. How about the G sheet? they're dropping right in where I need them. Typically they don't, and then you kind of have, there we go. So you can do a little rearranging by shifting the shifting the list up and down as you need those printed, and then those will be plotted in order because of the way if I select it. Same way, I will open up my PDF export settings, and it's going to take a second to find my PDF plotter files, or my PDF settings, plot settings. And the plotter, it works off of, now it comes with its own CTC PDF writer driver if you don't have a PDF print driver, or whatever other print drivers, Adobe or Bluebeam, whatever you might have. I'm just going to use this one for now. The print settings are also based off of whatever print settings are currently set up in your project. So these are by sheet size. Let's go ahead and select our E1. And then again, we tell it where we want to export it to. So I'm going to select my PDF. You specify the subfolder, date and time. That's fine. You can also have it set up to create separate files or multiple sheets into one file, which is the standard. Most likely we want those in a batch set so we can email those out easier for review. And again, same interface as in all these other export settings, whether it be the DWG, PDF are the most common, of course, but DXF, DWFs, Navisworks, any of these file formats these are what it will export and allow you to schedule, as well as the CTC model compare snapshot. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that, because the CTC model compare is actually a tool that's offered in the BIM project suite that allows you to schedule snapshots of your project at various times. So if you have issues later on, a week later, you're working on your project, it crashes, somebody worked on it over the weekend, stuff got deleted maybe, new families were inserted, and it's causing your project to have issues, you can use Model Compare tool to compare the two different versions, the two different snapshots that were taken of that project, to help you kind of investigate and resolve any issues. And I'm going to talk about that briefly at the end, because that is one of the export features that this tool offers, is that you can schedule snapshots to be created so you can later compare those models for issues. Okay, so let's jump back over here. Again, very intuitive, very easy to use. I'm going to go ahead and add my project number. Let's get rid of file name, project name. Now, I want to mention too that the way I'm doing this is on a single use basis. I am coming in this one time. I say, I want to do this stuff, and I'm doing it this one time through this source. I'm just creating a single run instance of, I need to do this. Now, they're using wildcards. I'm going to show you here in a second. By using wildcards, you can actually create a company template. These are our standards. Here's how we need to plot our files. Here's how we need to export our DWGs. Here's how the files need to be named. Here's where they're saved. You can set up all those standards. You would actually save that as a exportable configuration file. So anyway, you can export those and save your settings. And the key to that is being able to make that standard export file, that standard setting file, and use that over and over again as you do your scheduling for your product, for your PDFs or DWGs, whatever it is you're exporting. And I hadn't saved my file. I hadn't saved this file before I started doing all the PDF stuff. So as an example, this is the available views and sheets, drag and drop. Again, just to reiterate, that's how you put those in for single use. Now let's say we want to create a template and save it. Now I've got a couple in here that I've already created. All sheets, ARC demo, ARC existing, ARC new, general, structural. These are all sheets, or I can also do specific views that I want to create. And the advantage to creating these wildcard libraries is that I can then just drag and drop specific selections under the appropriate export selection area. So if I do need to do existing demo as a PDF, and maybe I need to do my general as a DWG, or even I need to do all my architectural views as a DWG. And then of course you can just remove stuff. Just remove it, hit delete, and then I can put my general back in the right selection. So that's how you use wildcards, is you're able to create a type, a search type, and place it under there, under the selection. So let me go ahead and show you how to create a wildcard. And this is where your standard selection would take place. So every Friday we've got to do our architectural sheets. And I need to search for sheets. I need to select my discipline. And there's some Boolean parameters here that you can select, use to select and specify the parameters that you're looking for. So in this case, I want the sheet discipline to equal architecture. Now in this case, you can see that the parameter of some of the sheets have two different values. Some are capital, some are upper lowercase. There is a selection button to allow you to select either or, use case sensitive or not, and it will actually take both selections and create that selection set. So all this wildcard search is creating a selection set, and then I can test it, and it's going to bring me back all of my sheets in this case that are categorized as an architectural, and actually that's the description. So maybe I want to be, capitalize it, make it a little nicer, hit OK. And so now that is on there as an ARC sheets, and I can add that to my PDF. And the same process goes with any of the other selection items you need to create, such as a structural, MEP, maybe you just want your interior sheets, your interior ID, interior design sheets, plan sheets, specific sheets that you need to plot. You can set all that up and create those wildcard searches through this table. And the same thing works with just your views. So if perhaps I just need to create a wildcard search showing just my architectural demo plans, so I can actually create that, run a test. It's going to show me my views that it's going to create. And I want to export that as a DWG. Then I can drag that under my DWG, or Navisworks, whatever I need to export through any of these other options. Of course, the DWG, PDF, those are the two most common, with Navisworks being a close third there of items that get exported and used on a regular basis. Okay, so now that we've created all these wildcards and we've created the sheet, or the settings that we need, well, now it gets to the part of, do you want to have somebody doing this on a weekly basis every Friday, having to go through this process? Well, you have to have it done, but do you need to pay somebody to do it, or can the computer do it by itself? And that's where the schedule comes into play. So when you click on schedule, scheduler, this window is going to pop up. and you can hit don't show me this again, but I kind of like to read through it every time, but just to make sure I'm following the instructions, because it really goes through and tells you some very important things. Well, one of the things is that Revit, you have to be logged in. Number one, user has to be logged in. So if you're on the network with security passwords, the user has to be logged in order for this to work. And this is required for Revit to be launched. Now, this is really important. The logged in user does not need to be in Revit at the time. So they don't have to leave Revit running. They can just have the scheduler scheduled, and it will run that task. And of course, there's some more information about drive mappings and networking and task manager settings, task schedulers. But I think the first sentence is the most important, that they need to be logged in, but Revit does not need to be open. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Going to open up my scheduled task list. Now there's already one created, but let's go ahead and create. I want to show you how I created that. This says weekly plot set. Let's go ahead and delete it and make a new one. And so you're going to give it your name, weekly sheet plot set. Enable this task. I want to run it weekly, and I need to do it. Typically, it's going to happen on probably a Friday or Saturday. I know some firms will have people work on Saturdays, so maybe you want to do it Sunday at midnight. It just depends on what your company, plot schedule is going to be. But in most cases, most firms I've worked at, it's always been at Friday. Typically at the end of the day, if it was due to the client on a Friday, then maybe you would do it at a Thursday evening at midnight. Either way, you come in, set your time, synchronize across time zones. You can specify when it needs to stop. So if maybe work is getting ready to start and you need to have it stop the processing, then you can do that as well. Now, this is where you tell it what to do, run this program or script. And so what we're going to do is open up our scripts. And actually, I don't think, oh, there we go. Add my configuration file first. All project settings. Let's do all architectural structural prints. And so we've added our configuration file that we saved earlier from doing our pre-settings. And then you are going to add your wildcard. This is where you specify, this is where you're going to specify where it's going to be saved and what the name is as well. So let's go ahead and go back to my folder. Whoop. I apologize. This isn't my folder for my plot settings. This is my folder for my project. And so I selected this project, the 2020, and it shows my architectural, structural, excuse me, electrical, mechanical, structural, or architectural site. Hit OK. Oh. A wildcard name. Oh, I apologize. I'm doing the wildcard, not the file. I was trying to add the file in the wrong spot. So under the file, selecting the specific file, that's where you add the file. This is where you would add your wildcards if you needed to add additional wildcards to the pre-configured saved settings, which is under the edit file settings. That's where you would add that. I'm making this more difficult than it really needs to be. I'm going to validate my settings. No issues have been found. I can hit OK. And so this is what I have scheduled. Weekly plot set, Friday, every day of the week, starting this Friday, runtime, and then I haven't run the task yet. And so you can do plots, you can do the DWGs, multiple scheduled tasks that you can create there. And then again, you don't even have to have Revit open to have it happen. You just schedule the task list based off of again, that was based off of the wildcard libraries that we created, and make that schedule. So let's go ahead, and that's really, it's really, like I said, intuitive and in kind of in a nutshell, really easy to use. You just, once you have your library and your schedule settings, then it's automated, DWGs, PDFs, whatever. Let me go ahead and and let me see if anybody has any questions on the plotting exporting. John left, but I was going to go ahead and let me see if I can message somebody. But if you have any questions for chat or Q&A, and I'll give it a second for anybody to type in. And if you don't, then I'll show you the model compare tool real quick and how that would, how that would work with this plotter exporter tool. And I'll give it just a minute here. And of course, I think it's lunchtime everywhere, so I'm not getting a response. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'll be cognizant of your time, that everyone that's joined me today. Go ahead and close this window. Go ahead and don't save my changes. And Model Compare is a separate tool that's under the BIM project suite. There's quite a few tools in there that we can look at, but the Model Compare, I wanted to show you that because what the plotter exporter scheduler will do is let you create snapshots and on a scheduled basis. And when you take a snapshot of your project and schedule that, and you can actually see if you have both tools, if you have both the scheduler and the Model Compare, you can see that I actually have a scheduler built into this because of that kind of that link, that connection between the two. So I can actually, without having to open my plotter exporter scheduler, I can use it here. Or if I already have snapshots set up, then in my plotter exporter, they kind of tie together. But let me show you how cool it is, and let me show you what this does. So once you have a snapshot, and I'm just going to show you an example of one that's already occurred, because it does take a little time for you to actually analyze the two projects. This will be a little faster because the comparison has already occurred. But when you use Model Compare and you're using the two different snapshots of your project, they're typically from two different times, 2 different days, maybe a week, whatever that time difference may be. And a great time to schedule that, for example, like I mentioned, maybe on twice a week, a Monday and a Friday, or even a Friday and a Sunday or something, because depending on how your company operates, if you have employees working on the weekend, because it never fails. It's always happened in the 22 years I've been working, is that you come in on a Monday, the file worked fine Friday, now it's messed up and the Revit file's not opening, or it is opening, but it's slow and it keeps crashing. Something's happened, and we need to look at what happened between the last time it was used. Well, with the comparison tool, you can see I've got a color legend down here on the bottom right. Equal, different is yellow, non-existing added, non-existing removed. And so in the yellow these values are different. So over the weekend, we had almost 2,000 model objects added to this project. Maybe that's something we need to investigate. Why was so much content added? What is that? Annotation objects, not too bad. We've only had 2 annotation objects, 2 additional views, but we've also had 25 groups. And as many of you may know, groups can also create issues within Revit models. So if we go to the next tab, we can kind of narrow it down and look at some specific elements: families, models, annotations. Let's look at the families. So I've had a couple of walls deleted, but typically removing stuff wouldn't cause an issue. It's usually adding things to Revit that are an issue. And so here we go. Here's our furniture systems. And we've had, as I said, about 2,000 model elements added in just one weekend. So perhaps we actually did do a whole bunch of furniture layout and groups, or perhaps some of these were copy pasted and maybe hidden or incorrectly and overlaying, creating issues. That could be a possible solution we need to look at. Now, sadly, Model Compare doesn't correct these issues. It's just a comparison tool for you to kind of investigate and sleuth your way into providing some results as to what some possible issues would be between 2 models. And that's, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, Model Compare. But I mention it because with this tool and with the scheduler, you can actually create snapshots of your model at 2 different times and schedule that to occur on a weekly basis, just to help log any changes that have occurred over the weekend or during the week, however your company wants to schedule that. Now, again, that's a tool that's available. I'm going to go ahead and close it. That's available within the BIM project suite for CTC tools. And then the BIM batch suite is the plotter exporter. Let me mention before we leave for the day, you can get these tools as a free trial. Any of the tools that I mentioned, any of the suites, BIM batch suite, BIM project suite. There's also a BIM manager suite, the Hive trial, and there's also CIM project suite and manager suite that you can go to atgusa.com and download the trial. 14-day trial. And if you would like a live demo of any of these tools, definitely talk to your ATG sales rep or email us at YATG. No further questions at the moment. I do appreciate everyone joining me today. If you would like us to present a company presentation on any of those suites, Hive, or any other software that ATG offers, contact your ATG sales representative, and you can subscribe to ATG social media on LinkedIn and YouTube. And we have new content, blogs, webinars, white papers, and more every week. So check us out. Your company can't afford to not be subscribing to our feed because of just the sheer amount of knowledge and information that we can provide. And thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, comments, or requests for additional web content, please visit atgusa.com. Everyone stay safe and have a great rest of the week. Thank you.